Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of HouseplanTEA Ranty. Now it has been a while since I've done a HouseplanTEA Ranty video, so for anybody new here, basically this series is where I go off on things that are driving me crazy about the houseplant industry, houseplant community, etc. And today we are going to be focusing all about Planty Facebook and some of the insanity and nonsense I have seen going on over there. Now, I can't talk about the dark side of Planty Facebook without first talking about the good side of Planty Facebook. So Facebook is a great place, you guys, to connect with other planty people via local plant groups. I've made a lot of planty friends that way here. I have sold a lot of plants to people through Facebook. It can be a wonderful place for the plant community, so I don't want you to think that I'm saying all planty Facebook is bad. I am not. It can be a great place. But when things go awry on planty Facebook, it makes for some interesting things at times. So I don't want to focus too much on scammers in this video. We all know there are scammers all over Facebook, planty Facebook and non-planty Facebook, but just be aware there are scammers out there. And now, fortunately, it is a lot easier to detect scammers. There are a lot of Facebook groups where you can report scammers. You can go and see if somebody's a scammer. And you can also just take the images that they're showing you of plants or off of their fake profiles, do a reverse image lookup on Google image search, and usually you'll be able to figure out that they're using somebody else's photos and that this is not an actual legit person trying to sell you things on Facebook. And I will place links in the description below for you to some of those scammer groups. So in general, yes, scamming is happening, but like I said, it's a lot easier to detect and avoid nowadays. So I don't want to focus too much on that in this video. I want to focus on more of the just kind of weird things I see going on, crazy things. And sometimes, you guys, you might look at a post on Facebook and think, wow, this kind of feels like maybe it is a scammer, but it's not. I think it's legit somebody who's just slightly delusional about what they think they have and what they're trying to sell. So let's go ahead and take a look at our first example, and I do have screenshots that I'm going to be sharing with you, so I'm going to scoot over a little bit, and I will be referencing those screenshots on my phone so I don't misstate anything for you guys, but let me scooch over real quick. Okay, so like I said, people who seem like maybe they could be scammers, but they kind of seem legit, but they make you think maybe they're scammers because of what you're seeing. So for example, this person has listed a Monstera White Walker for sale for $12,000 firm, plus you need to add $1,000 extra for USPS shipping. They then go on to state, please no lowballers, I know what I have, and then state, watch, now that I took the photo of this plant, it will probably start browning. Well, odds are it's going to start browning no matter what, because that is a all white plant right there. Now, interestingly enough, this looks like a very juvenile plant. First of all, I would be highly concerned if I had a juvenile Monstera like this that was solid white. I definitely would not purchase this for any amount of money, honestly, because odds are that plant is not going to make it. It needs chlorophyll in order to photosynthesize, and looking at the stems of this plant, the parts of them that we can see, they look all white. There's no sign of any kind of real green tracing through there. So this is kind of funny to me, and I immediately commented on this saying don't waste your money on a plant that's going to die. A lot of other people posted the exact same comments. And looking at this, sometimes you gotta wonder if these people are joking, but I honestly don't think they're joking most of the time. And they do actually get some people who are entertaining the idea of buying this plant for $12,000. Now, a couple of things here. Monstera White Walker is not actually a plant, you guys. It's not a plant. It's not a plant at all. Now, I know some of you have probably heard of the Monstera. I think it's the White Monster. That is a cultivar, I guess, if you will, of Monstera that tends to put out more white, and it tends to survive the white a little bit better. But the reality of nature and science, you guys, is you need chlorophyll in order to photosynthesize and survive if you are a plant. So this is not going to cut it. And I would never spend that much money on an all-white plant. I don't care what kind of all-white plant it is. And also, why are we having to pay $1,000 extra for shipping? I'm pretty sure that is a tiny looking plant. I don't think it's going to cost $1,000 to ship. So I'm not sure why shipping is that much. So like I said, kind of looks like it could be a scam, kind of looks like maybe they could be joking, but why post something like this? If you're joking about it, then say you're joking. I know they're not joking because they were actually replying to comments and like arguing that it wasn't going to die because it was all white, countering people who were offering a lower amount of money, all kinds of crazy things. So I see this a lot. One of the most recent ones I saw, and unfortunately I did not grab a screenshot of this one and I couldn't find it when I went back to look for it. And sometimes the moderators of these groups will pull things like this down if it's causing an issue or too many negative comments, or they think maybe it's not legit. But the most recent example I saw was somebody trying to sell a century plant for $10,000 that was planted in the ground. And they stated too that in addition to paying $10,000, you would have to come uproot the plant yourself and transport it and retransplant it. Now, if you don't know what a century plant is, it's basically a type of succulent. I think it's closely related to agave. It might actually be a type of agave, but they can get very, very large. This was a very, very large one. I do not think it was worth $10,000. Even if you buy moderately sized ones in the stores around here, they're nowhere near that amount of money. Plus, you're telling me I've got to go dig up this well-established plant out of the ground and transplant it. The larger a plant is, the less likely it is to survive transplanting process like that. So I'm not going to pay $10,000 for a plant that's probably going to die when I dig it up. Now, that being said, there are certain ways to propagate that plant. So if that person wanted to sell some of that plant, I would have just propagated it and sold that. But it was insane. And I can't even believe that they were asking that much money. And once again, just like on this example we had just looked at, people were just commenting like, I think you put some extra zeros on there. I think you accidentally held down that zero key a little too long. And the person just acted like, no, it was legit. It was cool. They totally thought that's what that plant was worth. Nutty things like this is what I am seeing more and more across Facebook. And I probably should have mentioned at the start of this video, you guys, a lot of this stuff we're going to talk about today revolves around people selling and purchasing plants on Facebook. However, there is some other things that we're going to talk about on Planty Facebook that are driving me crazy that don't have to do with actually buying and selling plants. But let's just get the buying and selling parts out of the way first. So the next thing I want to talk about is pictures. When we are buying plants online in general, we want to see good photos, preferably of the actual plant that we are going to buy. Now on Facebook in general, in Planty purges and sales, I do see people posting pictures of the actual plant. Everybody is pretty good about that. The problem I have is when you don't take the time to take a good picture of the plant. Stop being lazy. You're just going to create extra work for yourself. So for example, I saw somebody posting pictures. Obviously, they just went and took pictures of the plants where they were in their house, and a lot of them were on a shelf underneath a pink grow light. Well, that pink grow light's going to make it really difficult for somebody to see what that plant actually looks like. Take the time to take it into some better lighting and take a better photo. And when I said you're just creating extra work for yourself by not taking a good photo up front, the reason is because everybody's going to ask for a better photo, which is what happened with this person. All the people wanted to see this plant in normal lighting, not under these pink grow lights. So almost every single comment from somebody who was interested in purchasing this plant was, can I please see a better photo? Well, now you got to go take another photo when you could have just taken one photo to begin with in better lighting. That's what I mean by you're just creating extra work for yourself by essentially being lazy. Quality pictures, please. Now, along the same lines of photo issues here, we have the ever so popular photoshopped, let's pretend this is a whole new plant that isn't a plant and doesn't exist photos. And I actually have been seeing more of this on Instagram lately than I have on Facebook, but I definitely see it on Facebook as well. Theo has come to say hi, and I think he's gonna knock the light over. 1 second, you guys. Okay, I gave him some food, so I think we are good to go. So back to fake plants that are basically photoshopped. There is no such thing as a pink monstera, you guys. There is no such thing. And I know a lot of us know that there's no such thing, but people who are new to the plant world might not know there's no such thing. And sometimes people might look at this and think that this person's just joking. If you're joking, then put somewhere in your post that you're joking. Don't just assume that people know that you're joking, because people may not know you're joking, and then they're gonna go share this beautiful plant with other people, and eventually someone's probably gonna make them feel stupid by being like, you know, that's not a real plant, right? And then that person's not gonna feel too great about themselves. So I do not like this. When I see this, it drives me crazy. The deceit is a little bit ridiculous on all social media, but especially on Facebook. And that is why I just felt the need to make this video today, because like I said before, as good as the Planty side of Facebook can be, the other side of it just gets ridiculous sometimes, and I'm just left going, what the heck is happening here? But let's move on to taking advantage of people or just being inconsiderate in general when buying and selling plants on Facebook. I cannot tell you guys how many times I have seen somebody post that they're going to be doing a purge and it starts out with the biggest sob story ever. So many people are having tough times, unexpected things happening in their lives, and I understand that these people then are like, well, I need to downsize my collection for whatever reason it may be, or I can sell this to make some extra money because I need some extra money. I get it. I totally get it. I have also seen people go on and give a sob story and say, I want to buy a new plant to make me feel better. Throw what you got at me. Well, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with those people doing that. Like the people that are actually posting the sob stories and everything else, that's fine. I don't care about that. What I care about are the people who are taking advantage of your situation and know they're taking advantage of your situation. So for example, I just saw a lady post, she's going to be doing a purge. I think it was yesterday that I saw this. And basically she's having to take on custody of her 2 younger siblings, and she just found out she's got to make room for beds in her house. She's got to have money to buy beds in her house. So she decided she needed to purge some of her plant collection to make space and make money to buy the furniture and everything else she needs. Once again, totally legit, totally fine. Like, I'm not judging her for doing that or anything like that. My problem though is she stated that she really doesn't know much about plant pricing. So she's just gonna list the prices, and if it seems off, that's why. Well, she listed the prices and they did seem off, and unfortunately, I think maybe she was saying if they seem off like too high, that's why. She then said, I'll accept counter offers as well. But the problem I saw wasn't that she was pricing the plants too high, she was actually pricing the plants too low. Now, I do understand that sometimes people will price plants lower than they need to because they think they're going to be able to move the plants more quickly and they need to just get their plants out of there for whatever reason. However, in the case of these sob stories, I kind of feel like we should help a girl out, or a boy, or whoever is posting the sob story and selling off their plants. And especially if it's a situation like this where she said she doesn't really understand the pricing or know how to price the plants. She did also say she accepts counter offers. Why does accepting counter offers always have to mean a lower offer? Why can't accepting a counter offer also mean, hey, I recognize that you said you don't really know how to price plants and that is really low, and even though that would be a steal for me, you're in a situation where you're having to purchase these plants for a reason that is not necessarily good. Obviously, these poor kids have gone through some ordeal that has led to them being placed into her custody. Like, recognize the situation and counteroffer with, hey, you know, that's really, really low. I'd be willing to pay you something closer to the actual value of that plant. I really feel like we should just stop taking advantage of people who are in a sob story situation or who just flat out say they don't know how to price plants correctly. Help them out. Even if you're saying like it should be like $40 and you offer $35 and she listed it for $15, you're doing her a better service and you're doing yourself, in my honest opinion, a disservice by just accepting the $15 or, in the case of some people, countering for even lower. And yes, I do see that happen as well. But another thing I have seen that I feel like is taking advantage of people and not necessarily being of the best help to people is the occasional sob story where it's, I just lost my job, I just lost my relationship of however many years, and I'm depressed and I want to buy a plant, so throw your unicorn plants at me. Everything and anything rare and unicorn. I saw this post probably about a year ago and I cringed, you guys. I cringed because she was basically, I think she even said, let me check here. Like I said, referencing to make sure I don't tell you something incorrect, but I am almost 100% positive that she even said, no budget. Yes, she did say no budget. Just broke up with my boyfriend of 4 years. Sell me a unicorn. I'm sad, but not sad. No budget. So a lot of people commented saying, oh, I'm so sorry about your breakup. I'm so sorry. That's fabulous. But the people who didn't even say they're sorry and just start throwing pictures at this girl of plants that are unicorn plants, and some of these I honestly feel were priced excessively high. But here we have somebody threw up, and actually this person at least said they were sorry. This person threw up a caramel marble with a new leaf unfurling for $850 shipped. Now, once again, we aren't even seeing the full plant. We are seeing one leaf. If this is a one leaf caramel marble for $850, no thank you. So once again, I feel like sometimes these people are like, oh, she's sad. She's going to be looser with her money. She said there was no budget, and they're going to throw these plants at her and they're going to price them higher than they should be. And that is when it becomes taking advantage of somebody. We know she's not in a good place. She's basically stated that. I know she said she's sad but not sad, but obviously she's still sad enough that she's going to go buy a plant to try to make herself feel better. We know how this can be, you guys. When you're upset and you go and you do something to make you feel better in the moment, sometimes further down the line, a day or two, a week, a month, you look back and you're like, well, that was not exactly the best decision in that moment. And so all these people are kind of enabling her. If you wanted to help this poor girl out and help her feel better, give her a cutting of a unicorn plant. Just give her a cutting if you really feel for her. Otherwise, price it correctly. But you do stuff like this, and that is taking advantage of people in an emotional, vulnerable state, and that is not at all something that I condone. I believe there was an Ilsamanii. Yes, there was also an Ilsamanii thrown at her for $1,250. Now, that is not necessarily off base, but once again, do we really need to be encouraging people to spend that much money in an emotional state? I still feel like that might be taking advantage of somebody, and I know there's those of you out there who are going to be like, well, she asked for it. But once again, buying in an emotional state, you probably are more likely to buy that Ilsamanii for that much money. But when you got to pay rent next month, you might start looking back thinking, well, maybe I should have picked a cheaper plant. I'm just saying, I think we need to be a little bit more cautious and understanding that we might be potentially unknowingly making a situation worse, even though it may look like it's making it better in that moment. And I just want to point out to you guys, because I did not say that at the start of this video, that these are my personal opinions on these situations. If you have different opinions, that is 100% okay. I am very much a to each their own person, and that is how I approach things on this channel. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. If you want to have a polite discussion and not like a argument or a name calling thing in the comments down below, that's totally fine. We can each have our differing opinions on this, but I just still feel like at a certain level, people are taking advantage of these people with these sob stories on Facebook, and it just makes me cringe. The other thing that makes me cringe too is that lots of times nobody says anything about it. Nobody calls anybody out in the posts. I don't know if it's just because, you know, they don't want to stir the pot or what, but more on people not mentioning things in comments on posts in a second. But let's move on to ghosting. Ooh, okay, I'm going to get a little bit heated probably on this one because I've been dealing with it a lot lately, you guys. So there are multiple forms of ghosting when it comes to Planty Facebook interactions and purchases, etc. But what really gets me are not even the people who just say they're going to come buy a plant and never show up. And let me tell you guys how many times it has happened this week. Like, I can't even. And it's crazy. So let me give you an example here. Okay, so I've got this example pulled up. So this is somebody that I was interacting with about a week, actually exactly a week ago today. She had reached out and said that she wanted to purchase 2 of the plants that I had listed for sale on Facebook. I said yes. When would you like to pick them up? She let me know she had a very busy day going on and that she wouldn't be free till later in the evening. I basically said, okay, would 6:30 work? She said, sounds good. Just tell me where to go. I'll be there. I gave her my address. She said, right, thank you so much. I'll see you at 6:30 p.m. Have a lovely day. Cheers. So at 6:35, because you guys, I have started to learn that people who say they're going to come anytime after 6 at night are more likely to just never show up and never say anything to me. Same thing goes for people who say they're going to come on a weekend. And sometimes they come, but they come 3 hours late, which also annoys me. But this is a whole nother level because a lot of times the people who ghost you, they say they want to plant. The interaction's really brief. They're just like, yeah, okay. All right, I'll see you then. And that's it. But this person actually was telling me like, have a lovely day, cheers, da, 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 da. So at 6:35, I just said, hey, just checking in to see if you're on your way, because sometimes people are running behind, but I had things to do. So she never replied back. I just was like, all right, I guess she's not coming. I went about my business. At 9:05 p.m., she said, ugh, I'm so sorry. I had a long day and I completely forgot. I am so sorry. And so I asked, would you be able to come by sometime tomorrow? They replied, I have nothing planned, so yes. I'm embarrassed again. I'm so sorry. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, she legit just forgot, whatever. She's being nice about it. No reason to think she's going to ghost me a second time, right? So I said, it's okay. I'm available anytime before 4:30 p.m. tomorrow, so just let me know when works best for you. She said, okay, awesome. I'll sleep in, have a nice lunch, and head your way. She then clarified what the total was. I told her, yes, that's correct. She said, right. Thanks so much. I'll message you tomorrow. Then she said, I might just bring a few more dollar bills if I see anything else I might want. I really only have a green thumb for monsteras and philodendron. I said, sounds good. I can help with any care tips you may need. And I went to bed. So I know people eat lunch at different times of the day, but I waited until 1:17 the next day. I then said hi, just wanted to check and see what your ETA for today is. I have never heard back from her. This was a week ago. I can see that she read my last thing. So I don't know why she ghosted. I don't know why you couldn't just tell me if you weren't interested anymore. But to have that much interaction, saying that you're going to bring extra money because you might be interested in other plants, and then to just not show up and not say anything, you guys, is so bizarre to me. Like I said, it's not like the people who are just like real brief interaction and then just never show up and you never hear from them again. I mean, that was a lot of back and forth to then just completely ghost. But it drives me crazy, and it's happening more and more and more. And I always ask people, are you on your way, when we're getting close to that time? And I tell them, just checking, because sometimes people just never show up and I don't want to be sitting around waiting all day. And it's just like, I shouldn't have to explain myself, first of all. People should come, they should come on time. If you're going to be late, tell me you're going to be late. And if you say you're coming around 2 does not mean 5 p.m. Because I have had that happen, you guys. People will say around 2, by like 2:30, I'm like, are you on your way? They never reply, and then they show up at 5, I'm not home, and they're mad that I'm not home. Well, why am I not home? Because you said you were coming around 2. Once again, 5 o'clock is nowhere near around 2 p.m., and I have a life. I'm not just going to be sitting here waiting on these people. So it has gotten to the point, you guys, where when somebody just totally says they're coming to get a plant, and then around that time, I'm like, are you on your way? And I don't hear anything, and they never say anything back, and they never show up. I report them now, because you can report people specifically for not showing up and not replying back to you on Facebook Marketplace. They have added that as an option, probably because of all of the ghosting that goes on. And honestly, I just don't understand it. I don't know what people think is going to happen. Like, if you reach out to me and you say, hey, I changed my mind, all right, fine. Thanks for letting me know and not wasting my time. And I actually tell people that, you guys, because I think people don't do it because they're afraid the person's going to get mad at them or go off on them. So when people are courteous enough to tell me, hey, I changed my mind, I say, thank you so much, first and foremost, for letting me know. You have no idea how many people will just ghost me, and it drives me crazy. Thank you for being a respectful person. And that's it. And usually they're like, oh, well, you're welcome. Probably because, once again, I guess they think somebody's going to go off on them. Now, I have mentioned to you guys in the past that I do not hold plants without payment. That is a fact. But a lot of people just want to pay cash. So my policy is, if you want to pay cash, you need to come same day. If somebody else wants the plant before you get here and they're willing to pay for it to be held, they're going to get the plant, but I will reach out to the original person and let them know it's about to happen and offer again for them to prepay via PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, whatever it may be. Or I just let them know, like, I'm going to give this plant to this person. If I have another one of those plants, I'll be like, I still have this one, send them a picture of that one and ask if they want that one. It's kind of hit or miss on whether they'll take it or not in those situations, but that's how I handle it. But this ghosting thing gets even crazier when people actually prepay, you guys, for a plant and then never show up. And it happens so often. And I don't get it. And I follow back up with people repeatedly. I'm like, hey, just a reminder, you already paid for this plant. Like, you already gave me money. You need to come pick up your plant. When are you going to pick it up? And I have seen people, actually, one of the Facebook groups, one of the moderators recently in the last few weeks posted about picking up plants that you buy and purchase in a timely manner, and about how sellers need to say you need to pick it up by this time just so it's clear to people. And I usually give people a week, especially if I do like a purge on a weekday or if I do it on like a Sunday. A lot of people can't come until the weekend, so I will say you can pick it up anytime by the end of day next Sunday, basically, so that there's that whole other weekend for them to and come get their plant. But these people who just never show up, the first big purge that I did at the beginning of July on Facebook, I had a guy buy a plant. It was not a very expensive plant. It was, I think, maybe $5. It was like a little baby Begonia maculata, but he prepaid. He told me because of the 4th of July holiday, he was going to be able to pick it up that day, but he would come the next day. I have repeatedly followed up with him. He apparently is not even looking at his Facebook messages. And so then I'm just left sitting on this plant. And it's a problem because I'm having to spend my time and energy taking care of the plant. Also, somebody else might want to buy that plant, but now I'm like, well, can I sell it or can I not sell it? Is he ever going to come get it? And it's really annoying and I just don't understand it. And then another person recently who bought like a $7 plant for me, it always seems to be the cheap plants. The more expensive plants, people are definitely going to come pick up, I feel like. But this other person, I've been reaching out to them, hey, don't forget you have this plant to come pick up, and they're actually reading the messages. I can see that it's been looked at on Facebook and they still haven't come. So what most people will do is just refund the person and just send them a message saying, hey, I've refunded you because you never came to get this and I'm selling to somebody else. In the situation of that guy who's not even reading my messages, like he probably never would even see that and not get angry. Sometimes though, people will see that and get angry, and then you have to like explain to them, well, it's been a month since you bought this plant, you didn't come get it. But ghosting drives me crazy. People, please just be considerate. If you change your mind, that is 100% okay and fine. Just tell people that you've changed your mind. If the person is rude to you, then shame on them, not shame on you. You don't feel bad about that. If you're polite, you did the right thing. If they're rude, they did the wrong thing. But if you just don't reply at all, you're the one in the wrong. But the next thing I want to talk about is plant flipping. And in my personal opinion, there are 3 different types of plant flipping. And really, I am only 100% okay with one type, and that is what I consider to be true plant flipping. Now, a lot of people will say plant flipping can be like, you buy a plant from me, I sell it to you for $30, you turn around tomorrow and list it for $40 and sell it for $40. Because you were like, oh, well, I bet I can get more money for that, so I'm gonna try and make a buck off of her. This also goes back to that whole, if you know somebody has lowballed a plant in a purge, don't take advantage and buy it and then turn around and flip it. That's when people's feelings get hurt. Is like, I thought you really wanted this plant for your personal collection, and then you just immediately turn around and sold it. Now, honestly, would it bug me a little bit? Yes, it would bug me a tiny bit. But at the end of the day, it's now their plant. They can do what they want to do with it. So you can't get too upset about it. If they did sell it for 40, then now you know if you have another one of those plants to sell, you can sell it for more than that. But if people knowingly know that somebody is selling it for way too low and not for a legit reason, and I'll get into what I mean by legit reason here in a second when we talk about another type of flipping, that just kind of annoys me. It really annoys me. I mean, but once again, there's not much you can do about it. It's their plant now to do with as they wish. But another type of flipping that is 100% not okay is when people buy plants, like import plants, not even just import plants, but if you're buying plants and they're being shipped to you and you get the shipment, you unbox the shipment, and the next day you immediately list those plants for sale, no. No. Once again, not even like talking about importing from overseas. Like if you live in the States and you buy a plant from a nursery in Florida and it gets shipped to you in California or wherever, and you turn around the next day and try to sell that plant, that is not a good idea for you, first of all, and not good for the buyers that are potentially going to buy that plant. And it is even worse if we're talking about importing plants from overseas. So you guys have seen me deal with import orders enough now to know that really it takes a full month for most plants to fully rehab and be 100% in the clear after importing and be like, we're sure nothing's going to go wrong when this person buys this plant. It's not suddenly going to decline tomorrow, right? But the problem is when you have imports and you get them in and you pot them up and you immediately go to sell them the next day, things could still go wrong. That is why I wait till I see active new root growth to a significant level spreading around in that pot before I will list that plant for sale to somebody. And if you choose to actually flip it, and list it right away, you're not doing yourself any favors, because you are going to have people who buy those plants and they are going to go downhill fast. Maybe not everyone, but some of them for sure will. I can guarantee you that, especially because these people typically don't disclose that they were just imported to people. So those people don't know. And so you're going to get a reputation for having crappy plants, basically, that die. And that's not going to help you have a successful plant business if that is your goal. You're also now making this other person feel like a failure when they didn't know that they were actually set up for failure in the first place. Now, once again, even if you're not importing from overseas, plants need a rehab time period after being in a box. You also don't know what the actual condition of that plant was coming from that nursery. You need to take it out of its pot, make sure there's not already a problem going on when it came to you, but let it rehab. It doesn't have to rehab for a month typically in that situation, but you need to give it at least 2 weeks and make sure that plant is still doing good and not declining. Just be patient. It's a patience thing. Once again, people just want to make that money like this, but you are not going to sustainably make money over time if you create a bad reputation for yourself. So just stop flipping plants in that fashion. Now, the one type of flipping that actually is, in my opinion, okay, and honestly, this is the only thing that I would actually truly call flipping. Like, if you think about flipping houses, what is flipping houses? That's when somebody buys a house that's completely run down. I mean, it could also be just foreclosed on, but typically it's a house that's not in great condition. People can buy it for cheap. They then remodel it, renovate it, and it increases the value of the house, and they sell it and they make a profit. If we talk about plant flipping in the same regard, there is plant flipping in that regard. And basically what it is when somebody says, I have a plant that is just not doing well. It's a rehab case, but I can't successfully rehab it. I've been trying, it's not working. I'm going to sell it for cheap because I just really feel bad about it. I don't know. I'm hoping somebody else can be successful with this plant and enjoy this plant, right? So people will sell like a Monstera that's doing bad for really, really cheap. And people will take them and they will try to rehab them, get them back into good health. And as soon as they do, they turn it around and they sell it for what the value of that plant healthy would be. In my opinion, that is 100% fine. That is fine. The person selling the plant basically said, I know I can't sell it for more than this because it's not in good shape, but I really want somebody to be able to fix this plant and it to have a good life. All right? They basically give him permission. They're saying, I want you to be able to rehab this plant. So then if that person is successfully able to do it, well, good for them. Now they have a healthy specimen that they can sell for regular price, and they do so. That's fine. That's just helping the plant out. It's helping somebody else have a nice, fully recovered plant in their collection that wants it. I don't have a problem with that. Some people do, but that to me is like truly flipping a plant, is basically rescuing a plant, bringing it back to its glory, and then selling it for the regular price. I don't see any problem with that, but once again, just my opinion. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, is not addressing what I'm going to call the elephant in the room, or I guess the elephant in the post, as it were. So this doesn't even relate necessarily to buying and selling plants. A lot of times I will see people ask for advice when a plant is having an issue, and they will post a picture, they will say what the problem is, they will say like what they want help with from people, and you look at that picture and you're like, what is going on? Is anybody else seeing this? Like, what is happening in this photo right now? And interestingly enough, whenever I come across a post like this, I immediately go to the comments and I start scrolling to see how long it takes for somebody to address the elephant in the post. And usually I have to scroll way, way, way down, you guys, before anybody says anything about it. And sometimes nobody has said anything about it. And then I say something about it, and all of a sudden other people are like, yeah, I was wondering if anybody was ever going to say anything about it. I'm like, why didn't y'all say something about it? Like, this is crazy. So let me give you this example. So I do realize that when it comes to Monstera albos, people are so paranoid due to the price. And this is legit paranoia, you guys, not trying to judge on anybody here. Paranoid, especially because of the price of rotting that plant. And so I have seen people do crazy things with the nodes, even if it's just a node or if it's a node with a leaf attached to it. I have seen people do crazy things because they are so afraid of that node getting rotted. And perhaps one of the craziest things I've seen recently is this. So this got posted. The person was having issues with the plant. Let me pull it up and make sure. I don't know if I actually screenshot exactly what she was asking for advice on, probably because I was just so distracted by the elephant in the post, as it were. But let's see. Okay, so I don't have the actual screenshot of what she was asking, but I do remember what she was asking because of this picture right here. So she was asking about why she hadn't gotten new growth, and she was concerned about this growth point might be damaged and not viable anymore, and that she basically paid a ton of money for this plant and she's never going to get any new growth off of it. So she was asking people if it looked like it was damaged or not. So everybody started out trying to be super helpful, and I will say in these posts where people don't address the elephant in the room, they are trying to be helpful, but sometimes not addressing the elephant in the room is being unhelpful, and I will explain why here in a bit. So we did have people saying, like, I think it's normal, you know, I think it'll be okay, go try some of the kiki paste, is that what it's called? I don't know how you pronounce it. This paste, some of you guys have told me you've used this a lot and it's worked really, really well. So people were making good suggestions in that regard, but why is nobody talking about the position of this plant and this node in this pot? It went on forever. I scrolled for so long, you guys, and then finally somebody addressed the elephant in the post. Let's see if I can figure out where it was. Aha, so here it is. So somebody finally commented, the aerial root is up too high, and what does the rest look like? If it doesn't have secondary roots, that could be a problem. 100% it could be a problem. So looking at this, I was less concerned about this growth point that she's worried about and more concerned about why do you have this plant rigged up this way? And once again, I'm sure it was because she was worried about rotting the plant. But basically, she's set this plant up in a way where she's trying to rely solely on roots that develop off of one singular aerial root that it was already coming off of that node versus putting the node actually into the substrate and then potentially getting additional roots, like soil roots, not aerial roots, developing right off of that node in addition to secondary roots developing off of the aerial root. Now here's the problem, and this is why that girl was asking, do you have other roots basically on this plant? Aerial roots can develop secondary roots and they can develop soil roots. They can even develop water roots if you put a propagation into water. But odds are it's not going to happen as quickly as getting new direct soil roots out of that node if you would actually at least set it on top of the substrate. You didn't actually have to bury it if you didn't want to, but it needed to come into contact with something. So that was my big concern, was like, what does the root system on this plant even look like? Because that might be why you're not getting any new growth. So if she was getting secondary roots coming off of that aerial root, great. Once you started to get those, bring that root further down so that it can get even more, because you're confusing this poor plant is kind of how I feel about it. It's like, am I going to be living outside of soil? Am I going to be living inside of soil? Am I going to be a true epiphyte and not actually have roots in soil? Like, what is going on? This poor plant, I don't even know. Like, I just try to imagine if I was a plant, like, why am I positioned this way in a pot? But I digress. So I have no clue like what was going on there, but my biggest concern was that a lot of it had to do with the position of this plant in the pot. The other thing is, if she's not setting that one aerial root up for success, for really fully developing that root system quickly, she's not going to get new growth right away, because Monstera albos in general just do not want to push out a lot of new growth until they've really developed that root system in full, in my experience. But this is the kind of thing where I'm just like, why is nobody addressing the elephant in the post? And it happens all the time, you guys. But we have two more things I want to talk about regarding Facebook Planty insanity. And one of them is criticizing people for no reason. And not just criticizing people for no reason, but actually being extremely rude about it. And I still just am appalled at this whole situation. So let me pull it up for you. Okay, guys, so I just looked up, and apparently it looks like this original post was finally removed. I hope it was removed by the administrators of the group because it was getting out of hand. But who knows, there's another reason I may not be able to see it. I'll explain in a second. But this person came on and said, I don't know who needs to hear this. It's pathos, not pothos, and not pathos. Thank you for joining my TED Talk. Then put in stars at the bottom, seen a TikTok of someone saying it wrong, irked my soul, laughed my ass off. Now, I want to be clear that just because she thinks that is how it is pronounced, and wanted to go on here and say that she got irked seeing a TikTok where somebody pronounced it what is actually the correct way of saying it, is not the problem. And I have told you guys before, people mispronounce names all the time. It's not a big deal. She thinks that's how it's pronounced. That's not the problem. The problem is what ensued in the comments after this. This person went on the defensive against everybody. Somebody here had just said, I'm still gonna say pothos. She replied to them, okay, but it's still wrong, LOL, do you though, boo, with a laughing emoji. It went on so bad, you guys, so many comments, everybody saying, you know, it's not fair of you to like attack other people. Like, what's your source? Like, scientifically, we know, or I guess I shouldn't even say scientifically, I don't know. Grammatically, we know how it's supposed to be pronounced. We have the phonetic pronunciation of this. We know the origins of the word, and we know how it's supposed to be pronounced. There's not an argument of how it's supposed to be pronounced, or at least there shouldn't be. And once again, if you want to call it that, that's fine, but don't go attack other people for it. It got downright nasty, and at one point, somebody actually asked, are you being sarcastic or joking? She sort of said she was joking, but not in a straightforward way, almost in a joking way, which kind of negates you saying you're joking. So finally I came on because she was saying somebody else sounded completely uneducated. And if you're joking, then why would you go attack somebody and saying that they sound completely uneducated because they're saying it the way that you think is wrong when actually it is the correct way? And I kind of lost it at that point. I wasn't going to comment. I was really just annoyed. But when she basically attacked somebody's intelligence over it, I was like, oh, no, 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 no. And I had to go on and basically I said, you're the one who looks unintelligent using TikTok as a reference for how to pronounce this. And so she then attacked me and said that she didn't use TikTok as the reference. TikTok video just like irked her and that's why she brought it up. Yet she still didn't offer up her reference for why she is so firmly in the belief that she is saying it the correct way. I then went to clarify that point and say, well, then please, can you provide us your, proof of why it should be, or that it should be pronounced that way? Well, when I went to do that, I couldn't. I no longer could comment on it. So basically I figured out she was going through posting snarky, nasty comments back to anybody who posted anything, even in a polite manner, and then blocking them from being able to comment back. And so that's why I was saying I may just not be able to see the post anymore because maybe she fully blocked me and I can't see it, but I'm really hoping it's because the administrative people in that group took it down. It was completely uncalled for. If you're just joking, then just say it was a joke, you guys, and don't reply to anybody else's comments other than to say, I was just kidding. It's fine if you guys want to pronounce it differently. It just bothers me when people do. It's just one of my pet peeves, but it's okay. That would be like joking. And that would be, like I had said before in this video, to each their own, like we're not going to attack each other. The way she handled it, in my personal opinion, was borderline trolling. And it should not be tolerated. I can't believe how long it was allowed to go on. I think some of the administrators of the group understood that she was joking. Maybe they know her in person and knew that she was joking. But the way she was talking down to people and rudely to people and all of the you do you boo, but you're wrong. No. Just say you do you. It just bothers me when I hear it pronounced that way. But if that's how you want to pronounce it, that's fine. Now, maybe she thinks the way she was saying it was like what I just said and not rude or impolite, but the way everybody was replying to her should have made her realize she was being rude and impolite, or at least that it was coming across that way to people, and then address it and say, sorry, I didn't mean it to come across that way. That's all you had to do. But then to go block anybody who comments after you make a snarky comment back to them, it was ridiculous. I do not tolerate that kind of behavior, with people at all. It's just uncalled for and it's unnecessary and it drives me crazy. But the last thing I want to bring up is unexplained craziness, because this keeps happening to me just randomly about different things. It's like, I don't even know what is going on. So every now and again, I will get somebody reach out to me on Facebook and just start going off on me on something. And it's clear that they have the wrong person, but I don't know why they think they have the right person. And it just happened a few days ago and it was crazy. So somebody replied to one of my listings, and I am going to pull it up so I do not tell you wrong like I've been saying, but it was crazy. So as you can see here, I have like a listing of plants available for sale. This person reached out and said, hello, is this still available? So you're replying to my post selling plants, asking, are these plants available? You could have replied and actually said something different other than asking if it's available. I then said, which plants are you interested in? From here, the insanity began and I was just left baffled. So she replied, I am not interested in any of the plants. I ask you to discontinue sending me your announcements. I am tired of getting them. If you continue sending your messages to me, I will file a lawsuit against you and your company. For a second or third time, which this is the first time I've ever heard from this person, the first time they've ever said this, so I don't know why we're talking third times. Please do not send any more of your ads. Someone other than myself is using my name and info. Once again, remove my name from your mailing list. Otherwise, as I said, do not send me any more emails. Now, she did say someone other than myself is using my name and info. I am guessing what she's trying to say is that somehow somebody got her info and that's how she got onto this mailing list or whatever that doesn't exist or exists, but it's not me. I don't know. I think that's what she meant, but I was just kind of baffled. And I was like, first she said, don't send me ads. Then she was like, remove me from your mailing list. I'm like, we're in a Facebook Marketplace listing. So I don't know what she's talking about. So I basically said, it's not an ad. It's just a listing on Facebook Marketplace. And you're the one who reached out to me asking if it's available, as you can see in the below screenshot. So I sent her the screenshot of what she had literally just sent me. She then came back and said, no thanks. I'll ask you one more time, remove my name. Otherwise, I'll report your company to the Better Business Bureau and will file a complaint against you. And I dare say there has been some of those already. Do not send me any more emails. Understand? You guys, I don't email anybody. I've been building an email list when you guys sign up via my website for when I start doing special sales and things like that, but I haven't actually started to do them yet. So I haven't sent out any emails other than emails to people who have placed orders on my website saying, here's your tracking number. That is basically it. I am not like spamming people. I am not like doing anything. Like Facebook could be throwing ads at her, but they're not from me. I don't know why she would think they're from me. And just to be clear, you guys, this is actually under my personal Facebook, not my Aloha Plant Life Facebook. So she basically had to look up my individual name and track me down that way. And then the fact that she's doing this through a listing though, that's what's confusing to me, because if you were just getting emails from me, like actual emails, or you thought it was from me and you go and find me on Facebook, wouldn't you just send me a message? Why would you hunt down on Marketplace me and then reply to one of my listings? Like, it's very confusing. I really have no idea what was going on. She could just had a loose screw too. Who knows what's going on, but she seems pretty composed in what she's saying. So I don't think she's like just lost it. I really think this was a case of like mistaken identity or something. So after she said all that, then I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have an email list. And then I offered to try and help, because I thought if I offered to try and help, maybe she would get it finally that she's got the wrong person. So I basically said, could you please share a screenshot or something of what you're talking about so maybe I can help and you figure out who is actually emailing you, please. Because I promise you, it's not me. You've got the wrong person. Now I can see that she saw it. She never said anything back. So I'm hoping maybe she realized, oh crap, I must have the wrong person. And that's why she never replied back. I mean, if she wants to file a lawsuit or something, she can. Like, I haven't done anything, so I'm just gonna be able to be like, look, I've never emailed her in my life. I don't know who she is. So I don't know what that was all about. But once again, if she did realize finally that it was the wrong person, how about a quick, I'm sorry, I had the wrong person. But once again, you guys, it has just been all kinds of craziness all over Facebook, and it has been driving me nuts. If you guys have had crazy experiences as well, share down below in the comments some of the stuff that you've seen happen that left you going, what is happening here? I would love to hear it. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video today. If so, please be sure to click that like and/or subscribe button down below, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Aloha!